Joe Budden cancels Queenzflips show? That's right, on a recent episode of Joe Budden's Patreon, things kinda came to the light, and it was revealed that Queenzflip and Joe Budden had been in negotiation for a while about the relaunching of Improper Improv. Improper Improv was a pretty famous show for the Joe Budden network. Hell, I would argue it was the best show Joe Budden ever launched. But after a great run of episodes, eventually the show would be no more, and it was thought that it would be brought back. However, it was revealed that Joe Budden and Queenzflip just couldn't get right on the negotiations. Now, there's a lot to kind of break down here, as could it be that Queenzflip overplayed his hand? We all know that Ian Schwartzman had been vocal on Twitter and some of the spaces that I was leading that Improper Improv was coming back. He was adamant. Things were being worked out. But it seems like Queenzflip drove a hard bargain. And if I had to zoom out and do my science, I think Queenzflip was being a bit of a diva. He wanted to execute more control, as throughout his time on Improper Improv, he would complain about how he couldn't allow certain animals up in Joe Budden's studio. And it just reeked of diva behavior and the lack of an ability to adapt, and I truly believe Queenzflip overplayed his hand, and here's why. In the debate on the Patreon, Joe Budden and Queenzflip go back and forth about an argument or debate that happened off camera. In that argument, they outline some back and forth, tit for tat type of talk that they had, and Flip says that at some point, Joe Budden told Flip, hey, you can just keep it. Just take it. Don't worry about it. Whatever you need to do, be happy with it. Now, I am to assume he is talking about Improper Improv. And boy, did Queenzflip misplay his hand, because if Joe Budden told Queenzflip, hey, you can keep the show, he essentially gave him the rights to something that means absolutely nothing. What is the value of the Improper Improv IP if it isn't with Joe Budden on the Joe Budden network? And then Flip accurately points out that, hey, Joe Budden might have given him the See the Thing Is deal. Remember when See the Thing Is left the Joe Budden podcast network? Joe Budden participated in perpetuity as a result of him starting that podcast. And if you remember, Joe Budden had a big part to play in the creation of Improper Improv. As on a space, Queenzflip did say that his idea was to name Improper Improv in Joe's vision, but instead he named it Improper Improv after Joe Budden told him to change the name, or at least gave him some input with the name. Now, this is crazy, y'all. This is a big deal, and we have to remember that the launching of Improper Improv means a lot of things, because it's tied to the raise that Joe Budden gave Queenzflip at the beginning, right? I'm not saying I know 100% what happened, but all I'm putting out in Front Street is the small details that they gave us. So there was this initial money that Queenzflip received at the start of his deal.
I got an increase.
No. Yo, I don't give increases middle of the contract. Who did I give an increase to?
My nigga, I'm single-handedly, you know what I'm single-handedly responsible for up here, nigga?
You did not address.
No, I'm saying, so
you did not.
All right. So let's talk about the increase.
No.
Let's
stay at point number
you
one.
were giving me money. I guess, first of all, it can't be for Improper Improv. Why it cannot be? Because I did Improper Improv before the increase came.
Apparently, he needed an influx of cash, and Joe Budden gave it to him. Along the way, there was extra cash being given, and Queenzflip launched his Improper Improv. But it's unclear if Improper Improv was launched. Well, it's pretty clear. Flip launched Improper Improv with no deal in place, right? He didn't know how much he would get paid for Improper Improv. He just launched it. I don't know if it's because of the good grace he had from Joe. Joe was paying him money that he didn't necessarily deserve by the meaning of his contract, and then the waters of business started to get murky. That's right. These two, Joe Budden and Flip, were engaged in a tried and true homie deal. Joe Budden hit Queenzflip up with some money. It was some cash on top of his contract. Flip starts doing improper improv. I assume he thinks he's going to be getting that money that Joe was providing him. But that's not how it worked. Eventually, Joe starts to stop those payments, and Flip is left a bit upset. You know, he calls it out in an episode, and I don't know if he was so upset as a result of that he started to exert control over improper improv and use that as leverage. Oh, I'm not going to do improper improv. It got to be my way. If it's not that way, then it won't be this way. And now, Flip misplays his hand because Joe Budden don't really need improper improv. Joe Budden could cut on a live, and it could probably do the same type of numbers without the diva-ness that Flip provides. If y'all don't remember, Joe Budden used to do lives on his YouTube channel, and they were basic. It was just him in front of a camera talking in his old house, and no bells and whistles, no dogs, no people coming to stop by. And Flip gave Joe Budden the infrastructure of how to go live. So now Joe Budden knows how to go live from his studio. I assume there was some type of background work that Parks and the other magicians behind the scenes had to do. Flip, so when Joe Budden starts going live by himself without that improper improv logo, you have no one to blame for yourself if you feel some type of way. And now you're left with the improper improv IP, which I don't think means much on Flip the Network. The value of it was you and Joe. You and Joe, you dropped the ball, bro. You had something special. Improper improv was gonna be, I'm not gonna say it was gonna be everyday struggle, but it could have been something that we look back on, and we could have been like, that was a special moment in media history. You remember when Flip and Joe was going live all the time? It was so much fun. And now you have essentially canceled the show with your actions. And the reason why I think improper improv is canceled is because Imani looked sad. Imani looked a little bit upset. I assume it's because he's a fan of improper improv, which is why he looked a bit, just hurt. And Ian, man, I remember going on Twitter and saying, oh, improper improv isn't coming back. It's been a while. And, Ian keeps saying it's coming back. And Ian kept on insisting that they were finding a studio. And that raised a red flag to me. You were finding a studio? That makes no damn sense. Why would you be finding a studio? You had a studio last season. You telling me that you're going to secure a studio that is not in Joe Budden's complex? So Joe Budden is going to go somewhere and do content on a weekly basis that is not convenient for him. And that request is likely coming from Flip. So was Flip wanting to do improper improv from his studio so he could have control over the people who come in? Because he couldn't really do that in Joe's complex, right? Joe's complex wasn't going to allow freaking birds and bands. They wasn't going to allow that. So, I don't know, man. Flip overplayed this. And if you go back to improper improv, on a certain episode, you could see Flip start to lose it. Like, start to really go off on everybody. And I think it was because he was frustrated that he didn't have the control he thought he should have had. And it blew up into a stalemate. Now improper improv as we know it is done. Oh, man. This is ego. This is ego. This is lack of business acumen. This is just a bad idea. And now the Joe Budden Network has lost a show that everyone loved. Oh, yeah, there it goes. Everybody leave something in the comments. Let me know what you think. Did Flip fumble the bag? This is like everyday struggle except the B-side version. This is the multi-meal version of Everyday Struggle. The same story happening again. Let me know what you think in the comments. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. Last thing I want to say is a lot of people are mad about my Adam 22 interview. I don't know what y'all mad about. I think it's just an episode that gets content. I wanted to interview Adam. He's someone I've learned a lot from in terms of content creation. And on top of that, do you realize all of the platforms that you likely listen to have interviewed Adam, right? Adam was on Brilliant Idiots. Adam was on the Joe Budden podcast. Adam is on My Expert Opinion. So examine, what is your issue? What is the problem? Interviews are interviews. Anyway, like I said before, tap in with The Stop. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.